What are you doing here today?
Is this some kind of setup or something?
What do you mean?
I'm just on my way to the beach.
You can put that in the fridge.
You know what? I don't want this cookie.
No, I just stopped by.
What's wrong with that?
Me, my mommy, and my daddy.
I'm here. Party. Oh my God.
Welcome everybody to TCAP It Off, the To Catch a Predator podcast. I am your host, Jake Scholl, and I'm joined here by my co-host,
CG Myers.
and we're here to talk about everything TCAP and Hansen versus Predator, going all the way from role-playing chat rooms to the Murphy, Texas incident, all the way up to the one and only Jeff Sokol, who we will be covering this episode. So, starting off with Jeff Sokol, me and CG will be covering everything from his chat log to his interaction with Chris to his sentencing. So I think I'll hand it off to CG so he can talk about a little bit about the chat that he's had with the decoys, and then a little bit further into detail about that.
Alrighty, so his chat log wasn't 100% interesting. In regards to he just seemed very not desperate wouldn't be the word I would use for him. I would say just annoying. He kept asking the decoy for pictures of her, and not just photos, but
They
hey,
were really specific, if I remember right.
yeah, they were, because he wanted to make sure that it was real. And he even makes a statement. He goes, well, because there's people out there like cops and law enforcement that try to catch people who talk to younger kids.
Foreshadowing, let me tell you.
Woohoo.
I'm looking at his wiki page,
Uh-huh.
and I have to say, they picked the worst picture for him on his wiki. He's he's half deep throating a slice of pizza on his wiki page.
But that's the photo he's known for.
I know, but you couldn't pick his mugshot, or you couldn't pick any other picture. You had to pick the one where he's almost crust deep in a slice of pizza.
And that's the first pizza that he tried to take. It's just all oozing off. He didn't even try to eat it so it didn't look disgusting.
Yeah, no, he was just I'm hungry.
He must have been really hungry driving all that way.
I know, 2.5 hours, man. You get hungry.
I guess so.
Well, think about it. When you and I just went on that trip not too long ago, that was a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah, but I didn't.
What?
Yeah, but we didn't go, hey, let's get pizza and eat it like that.
True, and it's funny too because when you see him take that first bite,
Mm-hmm.
you see all the cheese just drop off of the slice.
Yeah.
But all right. So coming back to a little bit about him, this was part of the Fairfield, Connecticut Hansen versus Predator investigation, aside from TCAP. But at the time he was 44.
Yeah, either 44 or 45 when this took place in 2015.
If I remember correctly, he was 44 when at the time of the sting.
Okay. Speaking of his age, I kind of want to say this, something I found that funny in the chat. The decoy says, "Oh, you could date my mom," jokingly, and he goes, "How old is she?" And the decoy says, "She's 49." And he goes, "Nah, too old for me."
And see, that's just weird. If you think that 49 is too old for you when you're 44 years old,
But a
you'd rather
13-year-old is
exactly, you'd rather go
perfect
for
for
a
you?
yeah, you'd rather go for a 13-year-old than somebody who's a 5-year difference in your age. That's just already I want to just knock him right upside the head.
Um, something else. He likes to fat shame, and what I mean by that is, um, the decoy was talking about liking to eat like candy and this stuff, and he goes, "Oh, you better watch out, or you'll get fat, 'cause girls get fat eating stuff like that." And then he continued to proceed to talk about um, eating donuts and how he's addicted to Dunkin' Donuts. And it's like, dude, you can't talk. You have a little pudgy belly.
Yeah, it's like you want to fat shame, but then you literally look like a lowercase b. Like it's all flat and then just boom, like beer gut. I can't say anything though. I'm a little chunky, um, but like for like really Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, like he's like, "Oh, that's my favorite. I love Dunkin' Donuts." It's like he's like, "I grew up on Dunkin'." It's like, okay.
I mean,
I mean,
unpopular opinion, but God, I can't stand Dunkin'. I think the donuts are super greasy. I don't drink coffee. So just the only good thing about it is that they merged with Baskin Robbins and I can get some ice cream.
true.
um Also with Jeff Sokol, he went to kind of find the loophole in this whole situation because he fully knew how meeting up with this 13-year-old was illegal, and his obviously full intention was to have sex with the decoy. um and like I say, he fully knew what was going on.
I mean, he
And
mentions it in the chat of, "Oh, I could get almost 20 years in jail talking to
exact
you."
exactly. And so with that, he went to find the loophole in the situation, which would then be um marrying the decoy and like eloping with them. So like coming up with a marriage like a certificate for the decoy to sign. So then that way, if they were to engage in any kind of interaction, it would be considered legal because of a marriage certificate.
Yeah, he brought over a contract that he was going to have this decoy sign. But the weird thing is, he would have needed the mother's okay. I'm sorry, but what mother is going to say, "Yeah, I'll sign off on that. You can marry my daughter at age
13.
13." Yeah. The decoy does say that she's like turning 14 like next month during this conversation,
But
but
even
still,
so, that does not change the fact that it's illegal.
uh, my thing is just in what mindset does someone go, "Yeah, that makes perfect sense." To go after someone who is um even just of that age.
Right. And so then they chatted. How you have the chat log? So what? How
Mhm.
long were they chatting for before they've met?
um I mean, it's a little fuzzy, and what I mean by that is they chatted a little bit on Skype, so maybe like 2 weeks tops. I could be wrong. Someone could be like, "Oh, actually, it was," but they talked a little bit on Skype. They talked a little bit through texting. Um, the information that I found, it didn't have like actual like dates. It was just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Gotcha.
So, um, but it, I mean, it was a progressive chat. Like it kept going, um, but it was just weird in the sense that like he knew what he was doing, but at the same time, he acted like nothing was wrong either.
Right. And that's the other thing that bothers me is, and I'll uh, tackle this a little later, is during his actual sentencing, like his courtroom sentencing, his lawyer tried to claim that he's not an arrogant person and that the jury and the judge should not go based off of what they've seen on the show. But then if you think about it, it's like, what is anybody supposed to go off of? If they're not going based off of the show or what they've seen on the show,
Mm-hmm.
there's no evidence.
Yeah.
Like the judge is pretty much, or not the judge, the lawyer is basically saying, just don't believe anything that happened.
Correct. But even in his interrogation with police, he's I watched that as well, like the full thing, and the officer said,
Well,
so
you're talking about his interrogation,
yeah,
right?
the interrogation, yeah. But so the person who was interrogating him,
Right.
said, so they mentioned something in there that he was married for like 10 years, but they like glossed over that very quickly.
Right.
But they said, imagine if let's say you had a 14-year-old daughter, because he kept going, well, she was 14. He finally gave up and was like, fine, let's say 14 in this circumstance. That a 14-year-old had someone your age come over and you walked in. How would you feel about that? And he goes, well, I would be concerned at first, but then I would be like, well, if he was a cool guy like me, then there would be no problem. I'm sorry, what? Like, please explain, Jeff, what a cool guy like you looks like.
Yeah, really. Like, if he thinks to himself that he is a cool guy, then I don't even know. Like, I can't even come up with like a joke to that. Like, that's just stupid.
Oh yeah, he's a real cool guy with his hair that he didn't even like. He spiked it up like halfway and was like, yeah, that's good.
So like his hair, it looks like he tried to like faux hawk it, but then like put a hat on.
Yeah, and just like gave up.
Yeah, like he didn't take the gel out of his hair. It was just like, this looks fine. Like,
Yeah,
this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, this is fine to hang out with a 14-year-old girl.
Just hanging out. That's his.
Just hang out.
Yeah, this is his classic. His line to Chris, what are you doing here? And just hanging out.
With my pepperoni pizza.
Yeah.
That I'm going to scarf down half of it.
Hey, at least it's not supreme with pineapple.
True, but we haven't gotten to that one yet.
I know. Oh God, just thinking about that supreme with pineapple, it's so gross.
I do want to put this out there. For anybody who has watched the total uncut of the episode, the medication that he takes is not a Viagra or anything like that. I thought that's what it was at first. I even talked to you about this off of the podcast, saying, oh, we could make a joke. I did do some further investigation with that, and it's actually for IBM.
You mean
or IBS? I mean, yeah, IBS.
I was gonna say, you mean? I was like, I know you're not talking about the computer company IBM.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
No, IBS. But I mean, let's face it, with all that cheese on that pizza that he ate.
Yeah, he ain't going to the bathroom at any point in time. He don't need no pills for that. like I said earlier, that when he takes a bite, that first bite, you see all that cheese just come dropping off. Yeah, you're not gonna be taking a dump any point in time.
I think the worst part about that, like, is like I know for myself, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be hungry to eat. Like, I would feel sick. I would not be
Exactly.
I wouldn't be sitting there eating my pizza.
Yeah. Well, that's like a couple of the other predators that are back on one of the earlier episodes of TCAP with the cookies. That like what is it? There's like 3 or 4 different ones that just keep eating the cookies while Chris is talking to them, and it's like because I would be in the same situation. Like I could not eat. I would be yakking up cookies or yakking up pizza left and right because I just got busted. Like that, no, like what?
What? No way.
Yeah, these home baked. I'm just on my way to the beach.
Beach.
um, so then going a little forward to the night that they met.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he arrives at the house to the squeakiest door in the world, and I can't even like I always have to skip over that because that sound of that squeaking just
I
it
guess they
just
did. I guess they didn't have that in the budget to fix the
yeah.
door.
There's no WD-40 in the budget, or just sitting around.
Yeah.
But yep, he shows up with a pizza. He shows up with wings, but then what they don't mention though on the segment is that he also showed up with vodka.
Oh, he did. I did not
Yeah.
know that.
He showed up with vodka because it's a little weird to have, orange juice and wings and pizza. But he also had vodka with him, which makes the orange juice a little more understandable because, vodka and orange juice. It's a good mix.
I mean, I'm more of a like having like a soda with my pizza.
Right, as is the normal population. So, like, he showed up with the pizza, and you could see he has an orange juice with him.
Mm-hmm.
S and here it's because he also had vodka with him.
Gotcha.
So to mix the vodka and the orange juice made a little more sense than to just have orange juice with pizza.
And of course, a 13-year-old wouldn't, or 14, whatever yeah.
She was 13.
But she was turning 14 in a month.
Regardless.
This stuff matters.
um
Not by
so
much, but it matters.
so once they see each other and they kind of get acquainted, they well, I can't even say get acquainted because the decoy, who was a 19-year-old theater student, I have to say is one of the better decoys
Yeah.
that they've had. Because like you think it's some of them. Like, don't get me wrong, Casey is always going to be my favorite decoy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think she played the character really well. But you look at this one, and she plays things off really well. Like she goes with the conversation and stays in character phenomenally.
Yeah.
Because like when he says about like you look different than like in the pictures, she's like immediately she's just like, oh, my hair lightens up in the summer. Like boom, she played that off so perfectly.
Yeah. There's no. Oh, my hair. Well, everyone's hair in my family it gets blonder. Me, my mommy, and my daddy.
Exactly. Like you could firmly believe that this is who Jeff was chatting with.
Oh, hold on. I gotta hold you right there. I gotta put my clothes in the laundry before they wrinkle.
Yeah. Oh man, that was one of the more cringier excuses for the decoy. Like I understand the whole like like I made you cookies, or I made you brownies or cupcakes, or just I made you sweet tea, which they then like that was a good excuse, and then they went downhill with the it's what we do down south. Like no, that is like like spoken like a non-true southerner. So once Jeff gets into the house, he then sits everything on the counter and goes in for for a hug, but it's not just like a normal hug. It's one of those just like bring it in. Like I just met you. Like
Yeah,
I'm not going to come in and just like, bring it in, hug you.
yeah. Like there's times where like I've met um females, girls, whatever you want to call them, scare me half to death. But like I'm not going like, oh, we just met. Can I get a hug? Where's my hug?
Yeah, really.
Come here.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I that's a situation. It's like if it's somebody you just met, sometimes it's okay. Like it depends on how the situation has gone.
Yeah,
Like if you guys are comfortable enough with each other and you both want to just, kind of go in for like a greeting hug, that's
yeah,
okay. But not like you could fully tell Jeff was going in for like one of those like bear hug you kind of like
yeah,
smother you type hugs.
yeah. I mean, in this day and age now, I mean, that's probably not even allowed. Maybe even a fist bump's not even allowed right now.
I
Germs,
know.
ew.
Yeah, as of right now, holy moly, he better have some Purell with him. Um, so then the decoy denies him a hug, and I think right there Jeff was just kind of like put off by it
Mm-hmm.
because like you can hear it in his voice. He's just like, oh,
And then roughly like right after that, they hear something and he hears something in the house and he's like, is someone else here? Who's that? And she's like, no. And then Chris comes out.
I know. Right? But like even like prior to that, we still get like one of the best memes from this whole interaction. He opens the pizza to show her the pizza, and she's looking like, okay, like it's a pizza. And then he goes on this rant about pizza sizes and the price of the pizza sizes. And he's like, I know, like you said, you wanted a small, but the small was like the same size as the large. So I just got the large because it was the same size and it was almost the same price as the small. And it was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, he's not fooling anyone. He was just basically saying that yeah. Well, I'm not that big, so size doesn't matter.
Yeah, so pizza size doesn't matter.
No.
And I then heard I confirmed this from Joey's TCAP channel on YouTube
Okay.
that he went to Fairfield, Connecticut, and went to Jeff's sentencing. So he was there.
Okay.
He was there in the courtroom. But after the sentencing, he actually went to Planet Pizza after
Okay.
the sentencing, and he confirmed that that is true. The large is almost the exact same size as the small, and they're almost the same price. He said like the large was like $13.99 and the small was $11.99, so like a $2 difference for this pizza. But he said it was some of the best pizza he's ever had.
And while we're on the topic, um, oh man, I should have said while we're on the toppings of that,
So funny.
I just pulled it up on Yelp.
Oh,
The pizza place.
you pulled up Planet Pizza?
Yep.
All right, let me get some info here on Planet Pizza and some reviews if there are any. I'm sure there are.
So one of the photos that we have here is one of them is Jeff explaining the pizza size.
Is it really?
Yeah. And the orange juice is on the counter.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He had that orange juice with him.
What else? What other pictures do we have? Well, we have slices of pizza. We have the outside of the restaurant.
I'm not gonna
We
lie.
have the menu.
The pizza looks really good.
It does. What else do we have?
I think eventually we need to make a trip out to Fairfield.
Yeah. Oh, we have another photo of Jeff looking creepily at the decoy, and she's just like, "What?" And we have a photo of him trying to eat the pizza, and Chris is there.
Oh man, fantastic. So then, once they're talking a bit and they're kind of just going back and forth, and once they start talking about each other's looks, like Jeff he says this stuff where he's like, you just look different than in the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's not leery about it. He's just
Yeah.
he just points it out. He's like, you look different.
I mean, there's sometimes where, um, I call it like with online dating or even just like talking to someone online, and then you meet up, what have you. I call it the it's almost like ordering um something at McDonald's, where you
Uh,
see the
Where it looks
photo.
fantastic in the picture, and then you get it, and then you're like, oh,
Well, I was gonna say, well, you see the photo of it on the menu board, you order it, you have it, and it looks like the picture, just without the Snapchat filter.
right. So he's then talking about her looks, but then he does this weird thing where he's just like, what about me? Do I look the same? Do I
Yeah,
look different? And
and
the
well,
decoy gives like a pretty good response. She's like, you look different. She's like, not for better or for worse,
just different.
but yeah, just different. Like,
Well, even in the chat, he's very much like, so, am I handsome? Am I this? Am I that? Like, what? Why do you need Why do you need validation from
yeah,
a 13-year-old?
like he needs some reassurance, but like instead of going to someone his own age, he
Mm-hmm.
needs to get reassurance from a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
That's just another reason that I wanted to just smack him upside the head.
I mean, there's probably like 20 or even 30 reasons, but
Yeah. So then they move into going to eat, or well, first the decoy brings up the whole marriage certificate, and she's like, let's just deal with the contract so we can get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff's like, oh, I want to eat first.
I'm hungry. I drove 2 hours.
Yeah, he drove 2.5 hours, so he's hungry, so he needs to eat. And he's like, we'll talk about it while we eat. And as they sit down, they grab some pizza, and then you start to hear the noises of the one and only Chris Hansen. The decoy heads out, and in walks Chris, and instantly, this is where I really started to hate Jeff, because he comes out, like Chris comes out, and Jeff's like, "Who's this?" And uh, Chris is like, "Who are you?" And Jeff immediately just shoots the same question back, just, "Who are you?" Like, no, just answer the question. Don't be a dick. Just like, who are you? Guy asked who you are, and like, it just really bothered me because he fully believes he's not doing anything wrong,
Well, exactly.
and that he feels that he can just be uh, this arrogant, just person to whoever's talking to him.
Yeah.
And then I like how Chris kind of just puts him on the spot throughout the interaction, because he's like, "How old are you?" And Jeff says 39, if I remember correctly. He says 39 in the chat, and um, Chris is like, "Well, you might as well just tell me the truth because I can figure out how old you are." And he just snaps his fingers. He's just like that, and it's like, boom. In your face, Jeff. You just got put on the spot by, in the words of Mr. Gigi, the pedo slayer. And you could tell he, like, the more the conversation goes on, you can see Jeff just become more and more defeated.
Not only that, I think part of it too, he he gets angry that this is happening.
Yeah. And then Chris is like, something. He's like, there's something about a marriage contract, and Jeff just chuckles as though like this is stupid, like just this arrogant chuckle as though like, oh man, like this is ridiculous that this guy's talking to me about this, and then he just continues to eat his pizza.
Yeah, I think Chris gets mad that he's still eating the pizza. I think there's a part in there where he's like, "Go ahead, go eat your pizza."
Yeah, like you could tell Chris is annoyed that he just continuously is eating the pizza, and he's just like, go ahead, have another bite, just whatever.
Chris probably wanted some. Let's be honest.
I feel like Chris would have taken a slice if it wasn't from Jeff.
If it was under different circumstances,
Right. Let's see.
because that wouldn't have looked good on camera. Chris Hansen takes pizza from the predator that he was trying to catch.
Yeah. So then, after a little bit of interrogation, a little back and forth, Jeff being a little not unresponsive because he fully like responds to Chris, but he's not giving information.
He was being arrogant.
Yeah, he was just being an arrogant person.
Yeah.
And towards the end, he persistently asks who Chris was. Like he didn't know who he was, and he's just like, "Who are you? Who are you?" And finally, Chris says, "You know, I'm Chris Hansen, and we're doing a story called Hansen versus Predator." And once that happens and the cameras come out, you can fully see like every ounce of Jeff just become defeated. And you know, once Chris tells him, you know, he's free to leave and this and that, Jeff's just like, "So are the cops here?" And Chris's response is the greatest response I've ever heard. And it's she's like, "Are the cops here?" And Chris just goes, "We'll see." Like, could you be any creepier? Like that was such a Batman response. Like,
I mean, there's been others where they're like, "Am I gonna get arrested?" Or there's cops, and he's like, "Well, that's not up to me."
I know, like that's a little bit more of a like an understandable response, but to just be like, "Are the cops here?" We'll see.
I
Like,
think
like,
I
all right, Punisher, like, what are you doing?
I think Chris responded like that because he was fed up with Jeff.
Yeah. So once he then was arrested from the sting, he was taken into interrogation. This is where you really start to see how scummy he really is. Because he starts to like deny his like his chat where like so the detective was like you talked about having sex with the decoy and he's like, "I never said that."
I mean, what he did say was it was technically he didn't like outright say like, "Oh, I want to have sex and I want to do X, Y, and Z." It was, well, if it got to that point.
Yeah. So like,
Um
yeah, so he doesn't like directly talk about it, but he still alludes to it.
yeah. Something that I noticed with Jeff, and I noticed with other predators that we'll talk about in other episodes, but they say stuff like, "Well, I mean, if we would have gotten along, then yes," about either the sex thing and I look at that and I go, or oh, when they would be, I think Jeff says in his interrogation, well, like if whenever she turns 16 or 17, and it's like that's still young, Jeff. No.
Yeah, like regardless of 13 through 16, that doesn't make it any better.
No.
Like and that's part of just what annoys me so much about him is that he feels like there's nothing wrong with what he's doing.
Yeah.
And because of that, that just irks me so bad.
Another question I would say I have is, I'm sorry, but what are you? I mean, reading the chat log, it felt very middle school-ish, where it was, and okay, yes, granted, the decoy was supposed to be 13. I get that. But it was very much like, hey, how are you? What you doing? Like, stuff that you would have a dialogue with someone who is in that grade. So, okay, you meet this girl. Fine. What are you going to talk about with a 13-year-old?
Right.
You're not going to have the same intellectual conversations that you would have with someone your own age. I get so not just weirded out, but just baffled that even people that aren't like people that are like, oh, well, I'm talking to somebody who's like 5 years younger than me. Why? What are you going to talk about? Because they didn't live in the same time as you growing up. So what are you going to talk about?
Right.
Like, seriously. Like,
Yeah,
it's just weird.
like he goes to talk to the decoy and he's just like, yeah, so like
VHSs.
yeah, VHSs are like,
Remember Blockbuster? Oh,
yeah.
wait, that's right. No, you don't. Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
Blockbuster. I totally miss Blockbuster.
My point is that, like, you talk to somebody that age, they're not gonna go, oh yeah. Oh, if you're lucky, they might say, yeah, I think I remember, or my parents have some in their house. But that's very few and far between, especially when he was talking to this girl in 2015. The reason why I bring that stuff up again is, what are you going to talk about? And I'm sorry, what are you going to do? Play footsies underneath the table?
Yeah, no, you couldn't play it under the table. That was a very sturdy table that you could not put your feet under.
Of course it was. Yeah, there was
Because
nothing on.
because man-child decoy his daddy built that one, and that was a pretty good table. Did I just kill you with that joke?
No.
Then why does it sound like you're hyperventilating?
Keep going.
So, moving on, throughout his interrogation with the detective, he then goes to talk about the marriage certificate, and he just kind of he tries to walk around it and explain, like, and he says something along the lines of, he's like, I was just trying to explain to her that people can get married just by signing a couple documents. And it's like, that's not what you were just trying to do. You specifically, like, disclaimed that if they signed this, you wouldn't go to jail.
Also, why would you need to explain that to a 13-year-old in the first place about
Exactly.
marriage? Because at that age, yeah, because at that age, they're not thinking about marriage.
Right.
They're thinking about, oh, what am I gonna do at the mall this weekend with with my friends?
I just thought of that the other day, because I used to do that when I was a teenager, like around 14, 15 years old, where like Friday nights was like, go hang out at the mall. But now that I'm older, I'm just like, why? Like, especially at the mall by my house, like, it's like there's nothing at this mall that is really appealing to a 14 or 15-year-old person.
I mean, at least you had that. I didn't have any friends. I was very lonely.
I was a nerdy kid. I feel like I got like the pity invite that was like, hey, you're not cool, but you could still come over.
I would get, you know what? Sometimes I would get the pity invite, and then they would ditch me.
So then throughout his interrogation, obviously, he talks more and more that does not help his case out. And just like I said, shows how much more of a scummy person he is.
Yeah.
He is sent to prison in wait of his sentencing, which, if I remember correctly, it was over a year till they actually sentenced him. I think it was 17 months. if I remember correctly.
Hold on. I have the wiki pulled up here.
Yeah, from what it looks like, because I'm on the wiki as well. It doesn't say how long it took, but if I remember from Joey's TCAP channel, because he was there, if I remember correctly, he said he was there, and sentenced 17 months after the arrest. This also then, his trial just blows my like McFrickin' mind. Like, so, and not even like, Jeff is not the one that boggles my mind in this situation. It's his lawyer.
Yeah.
Because his lawyer tries to really blame his IBS for this whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but any like medical or disability you have, I'm sorry, you should not use it for a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, using a disability does not excuse you from being a pedophile.
Or just even just someone who, just breaks the law. Just in general. Like,
Right.
it doesn't give you a free pass.
And then, like, because he says like he had to deal with IBS all through high school and was picked on because of it, and because of it he had to put on a mask, like a quote unquote mask. Like,
Okay.
and his lawyer like just kept stressing to the judge that, Jeff is a nice guy. He's a great guy. And it's like, okay, he may be a nice guy, but every nice guy's got a dark side.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, he may be a nice guy. Yeah, he may have donated to charity. I'm not saying he did, but like, let's say for an example, like, oh, I can go send $300 over to UNICEF, but then I could still do that. Like, your your other life actions, does not excuse you from what you did.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else did we go over? Oh, he went over. He did go to a psychiatric examination prior to his trial, where they attached, like, I guess sensors or whatever they attached you during like a lie detector almost, but they attached lie detector equipment to his genitalia
Uh-huh.
and showed him pictures of children
Mm-hmm.
to see, like, what would be the initial reaction. And apparently, from info that we've seen through a couple different sources, he quote unquote passed with flying colors. So, regardless of that, I don't see, the like, how that's excusable from his actions.
Yeah.
You can take him to a lie detector and be like, "Are you attracted to this child?" And if you're not attracted to that specific child, obviously you're not going to have a reaction and pass with flying colors.
Yeah.
That still does not excuse Jeff from, his chat that he had with the decoy and him actually showing up.
Correct.
And Jeff even says, he's like, chatting is chatting. It's like, that's not incriminating.
I mean, others have said stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and Chris even said, he's like, yeah, chatting is chatting, but showing up is also showing up.
Yeah. Something I was reading while you were talking, Sokol, Sokol. I didn't know if I wanted to call him Jeff or Sokol, so we're just gonna call him Sokol. He doesn't get the decency that we get his first name. So he blamed the decoy for flirting with him.
I do remember hearing that, and that annoyed me too. The other thing that annoyed me about the lawyer's argument with the judge about how, 100 years ago, the age of consent was 9 years old, if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was 9 years old, and then it went up to 12, and then it went to 13, and eventually went to uh, the age it is today.
Mhm.
And this is a quote from him. Um, is so what he is being sent to jail for today was something that 100 years ago was not a crime.
Yeah, that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of me saying like, "Oh, well, let's say they bump up the drinking age to 25. Okay? Um that's like the equivalent of me um or anybody drinking when they're 21 and going, "Well, it used to be this age, so I can still drink." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like trying to get a try to get around it. No. And the reason why they bumped up the age was for a reason, not just because they decided one day sitting in a room going, "Hey, we should change that." What do you guys think? Yeah, I think so too. Okay, good. We're gonna change it.
Exactly. Like it just was so irrelevant to the case.
Yeah,
That's like, where did that fall anywhere in the topic that your client Jeff Sokol went to meet up with a 13-year-old child,
yeah,
quote unquote 13-year-old child.
yeah,
So from there, as of 2017, he was sentenced to 30 months, so a little over 2 years, and then 7 years suspended parole. But then he also here this is his actual thing. Sokol was sentenced 30 months, pleading guilty to his crimes of attempting second-degree sexual assault, attempted risk of injury to a minor, and enticing a minor by computer. Once he was sentenced, it was, like I said, 30 months in prison and then 7 years parole. Then once that was over, he also had to be sentenced 10 years on the sex offender list. So as of right now, he's still on parole, as far as I know. I have not seen any updates about Jeff. If anybody listening has any information updated past 2017, feel free to send it to us via Facebook or Instagram at TCAP It Off podcast. We also have a section where if you guys would like to send us any questions that you would like us to read on the show, we will absolutely do that. And then also, if you guys have any predators that you guys would like for us to talk about on the next episode, please send it to us via Facebook or Instagram. So with that being said, CG, for the next episode,
yes.
who are we thinking?
I don't know. Who are
should
we
we
thinking?
should we put out a poll
Uh,
on our pages?
I think we should put out a poll eventually, but not right now.
Okay.
I think until people start listening more and we have a little bit more of a little collective small groupage of people, I think right now we need to make the decision ourselves, but that can always change. But who are you thinking if we would if you could say right now, this is who we're gonna do next.
I mean, I lean between a couple different predators. Jesse Velez is always a good shout, as is Michael Gentile. But I think we should actually lean into somewhere in the actual world of TCAP, because we kind of started off with Hansen versus Predator.
This is true, which is very different than To Catch a
TCAP.
Predator. Yeah.
So we could go with a classic.
We could.
And this is one of your favorites, I know, by far. We could just stop
Give
by.
me.
We could
Okay.
just stop by in Ocean County, New Jersey, to talk about the one and only Palumbo.
Okay, as long as it's not at nighttime, because I'm not a driver at night.
So let's shoot for that one. Next episode, we'll be talking about the one and only Anthony Palumbo.
And we hope with that, you'll be able to stop by next episode.
Right. And then also be sure to put your beer in the fridge. Make sure it gets in the fridge. Don't get too drunk off of that, as he would say.
So it can chill.
Yeah, so it could chill. So with that said, I think that's a pretty good wrap up for Jeff Sokol, as well as leading into our next episode. Like I said, if you guys do enjoy the show, please follow us on Instagram at TCAP It Off Podcast, as well as Facebook, like our Facebook page, TCAP, the To Catch a Predator podcast. Also, feel free to take a look into the Facebook group For the Love of TCAP. That's kind of what started this whole thing. Shout out to that group from myself and CG.
That is right.
Also, just a little bit of backstory on what got us into the show was.
What do we want to save that for an intro thing?
Yeah, I guess we can do that. Yeah, we'll do that.
That way, it's not clumped up in this episode. People can listen to maybe a 10-second or 30-second discussion of what got us into this. Knowing us, it'll probably be longer.
It'll probably be like 10 minutes.
Yeah, hopefully it's not an hour discussion of what got us into TCAP, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, we're just coming up about 53 minutes we're on.
Well, it's 52, so, I mean...
Well, aren't you just specific?
Well, we gotta be specific because I couldn't say 14, even though the 14-year-old was... Or the 13-year-old was turning 14 in like a month.
What are you even talking about?
I don't know.
I was going to say, what you just said made no sense at all.
Oh no. I've been listening to Jeff Sokol too much.
Just be sure to check your pizza sizes as well as the pizza prices.
The next time you order.
Exactly, because the large pizza could be the same price as the small pizza, but it could be the same size, so it might just make more sense to get the large pizza instead of the small pizza.
That is right.
So with that said, that's going to wrap it up for episode 1 of To Cap It Off. We hope you guys enjoyed. I am your host, Jake Scholl.
And CG Myers.
And remember, always order your pizza the correct way from Planet Pizza. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm just on my way to the beach.
You can put that in the fridge.
You know what? I don't want this cookie.
No, I just stopped by.
What's wrong with that?
Me, my mommy, and my daddy.
I'm here. Oh my god.